80s, massive grassroots force for women's rights, and that's the 31st December movement, and helped influence inheritance law reforms, PNDC Law 111, which deals with interstate succession. A lot of us would have read about it in senior high and junior high schools. She is a champion of that. And at its peak, over 2 million members, one of Africa's largest women groups. That's the 31st December women's movement. In politics, first female to lead a major presidential campaign in Ghana 2016, as well as 2020. She is a former first vice chair of the NDC before her breakaway to form the NDP as well. And then known to be bold, hands-on, grassroots connected. You cannot take that away from her by the sheer mobilization of women that she did across the length and breadth of this country. She loved swimming, dancing, and we've seen lots of videos of her where she always did not shy away from the dance floor, camping and collecting dolls, which was a fun side of her as well in terms of who she is. And since yesterday, when the Rawlinses announced the passing of their mother, Ghana's First Lady in the Fourth Republic, tributes have been pouring in thick and fast, and we'll try and run you through a number of them after we go for this very quick break, and we have details of that plus some others if you stay with us here on News Central. government drip. Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine, in a press conference this week, revealed the company was overpaid for the procurement of heavy-duty machines amounting to some $2 million. The Minister for Justice also revealed the company evaded taxes to the tune of some 38 million cedis. But according to management, the claims are not accurate. Before we bring you a response from J. Plantpool, let's first take a listen to the Attorney General on Wednesday at the Government Accountability Series.
We did the investigation. The preliminary report was returned to my office. I studied it. I gave directions as to what to do. And the investigators have went back to do their work. And they came back with a report that I can tell you has, pinpointed certain acts of malfeasance that we are working on. So, for instance, in the case of DRIP, they were overpaid. That is, JA Plant Pool was overpaid by $2 million. The contract sum was 176 million United States of American dollars. On the face of the contract, that is the sum that was stated. When we examined the invoices of payments, it was 178 million that was paid. So right away, there was a difference of $2 million. So we asked that $2 million be paid back by JA Plant Pool.
So that's the Attorney General. Let's try and walk you through the details of their response, where they say of the many things, that's not an accurate position of exactly what happened. And so they say that that $2 million difference was a clerical mistake in the PPA's approval letter, which gave the appearance of a discrepancy. Any perceived excess of some $2 million did not arise from an overpayment, but from a clerical mistake. On the subject of tax evasion, which is also one of the many things that the Attorney General raised, that they added some additional equipment when they were clearing the drip machines, hence they have to pay taxes to GRA. They say that claim that they imported and cleared 190 pieces of equipment under false tax exemption claims is incorrect. They argue that all the said equipment were declared to the Ghana Revenue Authority and placed under the bonded warehouse, and that the 2,420 drip equipment procured under the contract could have or would have cost the government $1.3 billion. The $178 million contractually agreed and paid for the specified equipment was therefore very reasonably priced, and it saved the country large sums of money and saved the government as well huge sums of money. And so that's the latest as to what next in terms of what the Attorney General will be providing. We'll bring that to you. We're hoping as well to be able to connect with management of the company as well for quick responses. Our calls, unfortunately, have not been answered at this particular point in time. But as and when we get them, we'll bring their version as well of the story to you.
Now, President Mahama is today expected to officially launch the free tertiary education for persons with disability in fulfillment of a campaign promise for inclusive education. Persons living with disability are expected to register with the Students' Loan Trust Fund in order to benefit from this initiative. Ahead of the official launch at 2 p.m. here in Accra at the Accra College of Physicians, will engage the Director of Corporate Communications at the Students' Loan Trust Fund, Obing Ejenim Boateng, for a bit more on this story. Talk to us a bit more about this free tertiary education for persons with disability initiative. How many people are you hoping to cover?
Right. Good afternoon once again, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Just like you said, today is the day for the fulfillment of the campaign promise by President John Dramani Mahama to give free tertiary education to persons living with disability. as it stands now, we cannot tell the number of people we are expecting to benefit from this all-important policy. What we have done is that from today, after the launch, institutions and institutional heads are going to give us numbers and figures of beneficiaries of this program. We cannot tell who is disabled. We are teaming with a right and appropriate bodies that will determine that student A, student B is a person with disability or is disabled. And so once that is done, they are not going to pass through a rigorous application through any portal or through any online means. They are going to benefit from the program directly by confirmation of their institution, telling us that these 1, 2, 3 students are disabled with evidence showing their disability. That is how we're going to pay the money. So we're going to fund their tertiary education across the length and breadth of this country, as promised by President John Dramani Mahama.
I see. So let's look at the scope, right? Who qualifies for this?
So, like I said earlier, the only people that qualified are the people stated under that category of people living with disability.
Yes, I understand that. What I want is an explanation.
Any student who has gained admission to any public tertiary institution who is disabled is qualified to enjoy this free tertiary education.
Yes, so my question goes to speak to what qualifies as a disability under this initiative.
I cannot hear you.
What qualifies as a disability under this initiative?
What qualifies as a disability?
Yes.
Like I said, there are bodies that are mandated to determine whether one is disabled or not. And so we have engaged those bodies. You know, when you tell me you are disabled, perhaps you cannot tell, or I cannot see someone and they say, oh, you are disabled. Those bodies will tell us, this student is disabled. Then right away, the person enjoys all the rights under this policy. And so as we speak now, we cannot tell A, B, C, D is qualified for it. But those bodies will determine that this student that gained admission to University of Ghana, Lagos, is qualified because he's disabled. And the disability, you know, there are conditions that would define disability. If you have a fractured leg, if you are suffering, if a deaf person, we can say a deaf person is disabled. We can say somebody who is visually impaired is disabled. So all these categories, I do not have the right to say that this person qualifies or not. But the bodies will tell us that this is a visually impaired person, and it is true. The person is visually impaired, and so he qualifies. This is a deaf person, deaf and dumb person, and that person qualifies. This has a dislocation, or this has this. I mean, the bodies will tell us that student ABC qualifies under this initiative.
I see. So then it means that there will be some kind of verification of every application to this program. But while we're on the subject of scope, let us know also, when you say free tertiary education, what are we covering?
Now, unlike the no-fee stress, where we are covering academic user fee, this policy will cover every fees for these disabled students. Every fee that every disabled student is paying on campus, these fees are going to be covered by government. But like I said earlier, we are about launching the program. President will speak to the nation on the details. The CEO of the Student Loan Trust Fund will speak into details. The Honorable Minister of Education will speak into details to give us details of the program and this initiative. If I jump the gun to say a lot, it means that we are launching nothing. And so once the program is done, once we are done launching, all these details will come out for the general public to know who qualifies and all the information surrounding this pragmatic initiative.
Thank you so much, Obeng, for talking to us. Obeng Jenny Mboaten speaks for the free tertiary education program. Now, we'll stay on this subject because we would want to, subject it to a bit more analysis. Dr. Peter Patti Anti is Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies. Doc, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Obviously, this is a good thing for persons with disability in this country and for inclusive education. What extent can we say financial barriers affect disabled people? Paint us a picture.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yes, this is a very good news for persons with disability. Over the years within our society, these people have been marginalized. So when you're talking about marginalized people within the society, they form part of it, and they hardly have access to education and most of the necessities of life. So when a political party promises that they would provide them with free tertiary, and they come to power and they want to make they want to implement their policy, it's a good thing. We need to applaud them, and then we need to add them on to do more so that these people within the society would also feel part of the social structure that we have.
And there is the question of how to determine who or what disability is. You had my conversation with Obeng there. He says that there will be a body to verify that, as an industry player, somebody who's worked extensively in the education sector, what would be the most appropriate way to look at this?
Well, I think that in as much as this is a very good policy, we would have to understand, we would have to have a clear understanding of the modalities of operation of this particular policy. And we also need to know, as you said, the various classification and categorization of what we refer to as persons with disability. In the tertiary institutions, these people are identified as they apply. So when you're applying for admission, you would indicate whether you have a disability and what's the nature of the disability that you have, so that when you are admitted, you are taken care of. So I think that if they go to the universities and ask for records of these people, they would definitely get them, and then they would be able to provide them with the support that they want to look at. But my problem with the whole system is that you need to get a person to be able to get to the tertiary education before he enjoys this. What about those at the pre-tertiary level? What are we doing to those with disability at the senior high school level? What are we doing to our special schools? What is the plan for these kinds of people with these challenges that are not even in the educational system? Because if I'm not able to graduate from primary to GHS to SHS to the university, I'm not going to enjoy this. What kind of inclusion is that? So we need to, as part of this policy, we need to go back to the basis. Look at how we are treating our special schools. Go to a Cropon school for the deaf. It's an eyesore. Come to Cape Coast and see the special school that we have here. Very, very less resource. If we are getting money to support those who are able to, the few who are able to move to the tertiary system, then we should be able to also raise money to build the capacities of the special schools and ensure that those who are also at the lower level are giving that same kind of attention, so that they'll be able to graduate to the tertiary institution, and then they benefit from this. So we are doing a very good thing, but we need to pause and reflect and see how we are looking at inclusive education in Ghana, how we are supporting inclusive education in Ghana, how we are resourcing inclusive education in Ghana, and more importantly, how we are training people to be able to understand the dynamics of these people who need a special assistance and support systems. Again, if these people are paid their fees in the tertiary institutions, and they get to the university and they don't have the requisite kind of assistance to be able to benefit from the education that they are being provided with? What use would that scholarship be? So this should also transcend to just paying fees, just giving them free tertiary education, to resourcing the tertiary education system so that the tertiary education system institutions will be able to offer quality education for these individuals who are being admitted and who are going to benefit from this scholarship. So for me, I don't see it just as a simple thing. I think it's a good thing the government is starting, but this needs other things to be in place so that the people who are going to benefit from it would fully benefit from the education that is provided at the tertiary institutions.
Very well, Doc. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Peter Patti Anti is Executive Director for IES. We'll go back to our stories around the passing of Ghana's former First Lady, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. Now, since the announcement of her death, tributes have been pouring in thick and fast. Let's now run by you some of them and the messages that came alongside. From the President of our Republic, John Dramani Mahama, he said, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings' legacy and dedication to empowering women and serving our country will never be forgotten. R.I.P. Madam. To the children and the family of the late Madame Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, I share in your sorrow and extend my deepest condolences on your loss. Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings leaves behind a legacy defined by her unwavering commitment to the nation's women and girls. And that's from former Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who continues to say, may her soul rest in peace. From the immediate past President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his wife Rebecca Akufo-Addo, he said, we are deeply saddened by the news of the untimely passing of the wife of the late first President of the Fourth Republic, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, the longest-serving First Lady in our history and the founder of the 31st December Women's Movement, Her Excellency Mrs. Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. As a role model, Rebecca, my children, and I extend our deepest condolences to her children and family on this sad occasion. May her soul rest peacefully in the bosom of the Almighty until the last day of resurrection when we shall meet again.
All right.
We'll now head back to the residence of the Rawlingses here in Accra for a bit more. George is on standby. George, what's happening there?
If you just tune in, we're coming to you live from the residence of the former First Lady, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. It's a solemn mood here, and Ghana, of course, is mourning the longest-serving First Lady, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, and this sees from the resident. And the former President, Nana Akufo-Addo, just arrived with the wife, Rebecca Akufo, and former Chief of Staff, Freema Opare. And so they are here. So what exactly is going on is that the interpreter of the President, former President, has actually announced officially their presence here. And so that of the family of the Rawlingses is also doing this. They are actually welcoming the former president. And, well, people that I spoke to from all walks of life made me aware that the former First Lady was very stern, very strict and courageous. And so for one lady that was named after her, who was a bit timid, the former First Lady was like, if really you were named after me, I don't expect you to be timid. I want you to be very brave. And so from that day on, when she had the advice from the former First Lady, she became very courageous. And so a lot of things have been learned from her. And moving forward, she's going to apply this in her everyday life. And yeah, dignitaries are here. The Chief of Staff left here some minutes ago. That's Julius Deborah. And there's also a book of condolence here in the honor of the First Lady. And so maybe from today, people will have the opportunity to pen this very book. And so we just want to give you scenes, of course, of what actually is happening here. So the President is actually saying some few things after he's been welcomed by the family of the Rawlings.
So you be quiet. Obey Juma. Say what man. So no. Yes, it's a guy in your bopo. Every time, ho. I feel quiet between me. It's you. Nanti, and I'm missing the bar. Where Madame for? On any kuna. Abe, come pa. Unti, because he has some rubber bomb on your matte. He has a mebefia, Namiso, with the Sababa to sing. Mamma Muyako. Timmy by a massam. About penny, the petite, Baba Jumacasia Moon, and Unti, and Musma Bass and Neba, and Baba come home. Now, acquire the first one. The big channel coin, which we buy a massive tea. As I'm Cassia between now Ghana and Unti and Nancy Massam, with our sense.
So to that local dialect by the former president, he's been friends with the former president, that's the late Derrick Rawlings, and the late First Lady. They've been friends for a while, and also knowing who she is, she's very illustrious, hardworking, and so a lot was achieved from her during her tenure as the First Lady of the land. And so this very news of her demise, is a big blow to him. It's a reason he's here to also show some sort of solidarity to the family. And so this is what he said in the local dialect. And that's for people who are not able to really get the local dialect. That's what the president said in his brief to the family of the Rawlings. Well, if you just tuned in, we're coming to you live from the residence of the former First Lady, and she died at the age of 76. And she, of course, has empowered women across the country. And in view of this, government has declared 3 days of national mourning beginning today. And so public institutions, government installations, and diplomatic missions across the country and abroad will fly half-mast. All flags at these public institutions will fly at half-mast. And this is from government. And the family, of course, has actually announced this to the presidency. And in that regard, that's when the 3 days of national mourning has also been announced in that regard. And so we'll also be bringing you more updates because of our limited time. We'll bring you more updates. And so you can also share with us your tributes, your fondest memories, if you have any experience with the former First Lady. We are active on Facebook as TV's Figure. Hopefully we'll read your comments and share them to the rest of the world. And so these are scenes from the residence of the former First Lady. She died at the age of 76. She was born in 1948 in the Ashanti region. And she had 4 kids, 3 females, and 1 male. And so they are also here receiving families, loved ones who are here to show solidarity to the family on the demise of their mother, Nana Konadu Rawlings. So that's it from the residence of the former First Lady.
and you're so live here on TV3. We're bringing an end to News Central, but do be reminded that that family home, the Rollins' home, is where we will be stationed, as my colleague George Queenan has been, as and when the top dignitaries come by. I will be bringing you details of that. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor. Bye-bye.